Hello everyone. In the previous episode, we witnessed Lytucam's tearful journey. Little Xoai, the child who once stayed close to her mother deep in the forest, is now going to school for the very first time. For Lytucam, it's a moment of happiness mixed with worry, as she learns to face the feeling of being apart from her child. A single day passes, seemingly ordinary, yet filled with deep emotions. A mother's love, quiet kindness, and the little things that remind us why life is still beautiful. If you love heartfelt, human stories filled with warmth and compassion, please subscribe so you won't miss the next episode. Early in the morning, the mist still lingered lightly on the treetops, and the scent of damp earth after a night of rain filled the air with cool freshness. Inside the small bamboo house, I quietly began a new day. The broom made from dried leaves swept softly across the earthen floor, creating a tender rustling sound that blended with the wind whispering through the thatched roof. Each stroke was slow and careful, as if I were not only cleaning the house, but also sweeping away the worries left behind by yesterday. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the leaves, shining gently on my calloused hands, blurring the thin smoke of morning mist around the porch. Outside, little Xoai lay peacefully on a small mat, playing with an old toy, her chubby legs kicking lightly in the air. Amid the simple life of the mountains, everything felt so calm, so tender. No words were needed, just the sight of a mother quietly working and the soft laughter of her child was enough to make that morning feel warm, as if the whole world had slowed down to let this fragile peace breathe. While I was gathering the dried leaves, the sound of a motorbike echoed from outside the gate. Looking up, I saw Nam, the man who often visited me and my daughter. In his familiar green clothes, he stopped the bike and smiled kindly. "Do come, I've got good news to tell you." I wiped my hands on my shirt and stepped closer, curious. He spoke gently, his voice filled with warmth and joy. "I managed to get little Xoai into school. The school up in the commune agreed to take her. She'll have teachers to care for her and friends to play with." I froze for a moment, my heart tightening. I was happy my child would finally go to school, live like other children. But I was also worried. She was still so small, and the road to the commune was long and winding. As if sensing my thoughts, Nam added softly, "Don't worry, I'll help take her there in the first few days. Children need a place to learn, someone to guide them, just like trees need sunlight to grow." I looked at him, my eyes stinging. In a life still filled with hardship, the kindness of someone not bound by blood made my heart warm again. Little Xoai laughed happily in Nam's arms, and I could only smile, a smile mixed with happiness, gratitude, and a quiet ache I couldn't quite name. Everything happened so fast that I could hardly believe it was real. For so many days I thought I would never have enough to give my child a proper education, never enough for her to live like other children. Yet now, here in this remote mountain village, a small door to the future has quietly opened before us. We brought little Xoai together. She sat in front, her tiny arms wrapped tightly around Nam's waist, her hair dancing gently in the mountain wind. The road to school curved endlessly through the hills, but my heart felt strangely calm. When we arrived, the school gate was bright with flags and flowers, filled with the laughter of children echoing across the yard. I stood still, feeling both joy and worry. Joy, because my child finally had a chance. Worry, because she was still so small, still clumsy and fragile, and I had never once been apart from her. The teacher welcomed us with a warm smile. Nam spoke a few words, then placed a gentle hand on my shoulder, as if to say, "Don't worry, she'll be well cared for here." I looked at Xoai. Her eyes were sparkling, full of curiosity as she gazed at the world around her. In that moment, I understood. All the hardships, all the sleepless nights and silent tears, they had led to this. Because today, in this little school nestled among green hills, my daughter truly had a new beginning. And to me, that was the most precious gift life could give. On her first day of school, my heart raced, as if I were the child about to step into class. She looked around, unsure, her tiny hand gripping the hem of my shirt, her eyes a mix of fear and wonder. I bent down, brushed her hair gently, and whispered, "It's all right, sweetheart. Mommy's right here." Then the teacher came, softly took her hand, and led her across the sunlit schoolyard. Xoai turned back, smiling at me, a small smile that made my eyes sting with tears. I stood there watching as she blended into the crowd of children, and a tender feeling rose within me, part ache, part pride. My little girl had begun a new journey, and I knew this was the very first step toward her future. On the way back, the mountain breeze whispered through the leaves, carrying with it the scent of damp earth after the morning dew. I sat quietly behind Nam on the motorbike, lost in my thoughts. A lingering ache filled my chest after leaving little Xoai's school. Though she had only been away for half a day, the emptiness felt strange, almost hollow. Nam seemed to understand. He didn't say a word, just slowed the bike, letting the wind turn gentler, the road stretch a little longer. When we reached home, he parked by the porch, and I quietly opened the bamboo door. Sunlight filtered through the trees, falling onto the earthen floor, making the little house seem brighter than usual. I poured 2 cups of water and handed one to him. We sat there in silence. The only sound was the soft rustle of the dry leaves swaying outside. "I miss her already," I said softly, my voice trembling a little. Nam looked at me and smiled kindly. "She'll get used to it, and so will you," he said. "Children, once they have friends, once they feel loved, they'll laugh more. The best thing you can give her is a peaceful childhood." I nodded slowly. The worry inside me began to fade, replaced by a quiet sense of calm. After a while, Nam stood up and said, "Come on, the day's still young. Let's go see how the garden's doing." I smiled, picked up the small hoe, and followed him to the backyard. The mountain wind was cool, and the young vegetable rows trembled gently under the sunlight. Nam pulled the weeds while I loosened the soil around each stem. Sweat glistened on our foreheads, but somehow my heart felt lighter. Amid such simple days, I realized, no matter how hard life may be, as long as someone stays by your side, as long as there is faith and kindness to share, every worry will eventually fade. Under the soft warmth of the afternoon sun, Nam and I went out to the small garden behind the house again. The soil had been tilled the day before, but it was still uneven and scattered. He said gently, "Let's plant some more vegetables today. Give this garden a bit of green." I nodded, my heart a little lighter after the emotional morning. I picked up the hoe and began shaping the rows of soil. Each movement was heavy, yet steady, as if with every stroke I was releasing a piece of the worry still resting in my heart. Nam stood nearby, occasionally pointing out the softer patches of earth, then helping me set up bamboo stakes for a small fence. The mountain breeze brushed against us, my shirt swaying lightly, and he smiled, half teasing, "This soil's perfect for mustard greens, you know." I couldn't help but laugh. I wasn't sure if it was because of what he said or because of how peaceful that moment felt. After a while, I sat down and opened the small packet of seeds. My hands were covered in soil, but I placed each seed carefully into the ground, as if planting a quiet hope. Nam followed behind, gently patting down the earth, and together we moved from one row to the next. Little by little, the garden took shape. Neat, straight rows full of life and promise. When we finished, we washed our hands at the water spout in front of the house. The cool water ran through my fingers, carrying away the scent of soil and sunshine. I looked up at the garden. The rows of young plants, still fragile, yet already enough to make me smile. Standing beside me, Nam said softly, "Soon, little Xoai will have her own green garden." I smiled. Moments like this, simple, quiet, filled with care, were enough. Life might still be hard, but my heart felt at peace, because wherever hands are willing to nurture the earth, hope will always find a way to grow. After finishing our work in the garden, Nam and I returned to the small bamboo kitchen. The scent of soil and sunlight still lingered on our clothes, but inside, I felt strangely at peace. Nam said he would go down to the market to buy a few things, while I began to light the fire and prepare lunch. The kitchen was simple, just a few bamboo beams and some dry firewood. But to me, it was an entire world of peace. I knelt down, neatly arranged the wood, and struck a match. The first curl of smoke rose gently, winding through my hair before drifting away with the breeze. As the fire caught, the sound of crackling wood filled the space. A familiar rhythm, like the quiet whisper of the mountains telling stories of everyday life. Outside, the Highland market was as lively as ever. Old canvas roofs fluttered in the wind, and laughter echoed from every corner. Nam parked his bike and carefully chose fresh bundles of greens, a few fish still glistening with water, and a small bag of salt and fish sauce. When a few of the local women saw him, they teased with smiles. "Buying so much today, huh? Must be cooking for someone special, right, Nam?" He only smiled in reply, that same gentle smile, and tied the bag carefully to the back of his bike. A while later, Nam returned, carrying the fresh food from the market. He set the bag down on the wooden table and said, "The market was crowded today, but I managed to get some fresh fish." I smiled, nodded softly, and began to cook. Smoke from the fire drifted upward, blending with the soft afternoon light streaming through the bamboo walls. The fire burned steady. The pot of soup began to simmer, sending a warm fragrance through the room. I glanced at Nam as he quietly helped clean the vegetables, and my heart felt full. All the hardships of the past days seemed to melt away in that single, gentle moment, when two people, once strangers, could sit side by side, building a small home together. And I realized, in this life, sometimes it's the simplest meals, shared with kindness, that make us want to live better every single day. When the last dishes were set on the table, I sat down beside the small bamboo table. On it were a plate of braised fish with a rich aroma, a few golden fried shrimp, and a dish of sweet pomelo that Nam had carefully peeled. He smiled gently, scooped a full bowl of rice, and said softly, "To come, eat up. You've worked hard today." The steam from the rice mingled with the scent of the mountains, while the breeze brushed through the bamboo leaves outside. Inside our little home, the soft clinking of chopsticks and bowls echoed between us, accompanied by quiet laughter. Nam told stories about the morning at the market. I teased him a little, and he burst into a hearty laugh that filled the whole room. That lunch felt so delicious, not because of the food, but because of the company. As I looked at him, I realized I had found the peace I'd been searching for all this time. A man who listened, who cared in small, silent ways that spoke louder than words. Outside, the sunlight had begun to fade, and the scent of warm rice drifted gently into the wind. Amid the vast mountains, there were only the two of us. A simple meal, humble food, and a few unadorned words. And yet, my heart had never felt so full. I smiled softly and whispered, "It's been so long since I've had such a happy meal."
Chúng ta vừa cùng nhau đi qua một hành trình nhỏ nhưng lại chất chứa thật nhiều cảm xúc, từ những nỗi buồn, những giọt nước mắt cho đến cả những khoảnh khắc bình yên, giản dị vô cùng quý giá. Cảm ơn bạn đã đồng hành và lắng nghe đến tận những giây phút cuối cùng. Mỗi một lượt xem, mỗi một ánh mắt dừng lại, mỗi một trái tim cùng đồng cảm đều là nguồn động lực để những câu chuyện như thế này được tiếp tục viết nên. Nếu cuộc sống còn bộn bề, đôi khi chỉ cần những giây phút lắng lại, ta sẽ nhận ra rằng niềm tin, lòng nhân ái và sự sẻ chia luôn có sức mạnh chữa lành kỳ diệu. Và cũng chính nhờ có bạn, người không ngại dành thời gian quý giá để đồng hành, và hành trình của nhân vật trong câu chuyện này trở nên trọn vẹn hơn, ấm áp hơn. Dù phía trước vẫn còn nhiều chông gai, nhưng chỉ cần trái tim con người biết hướng về nhau thì bóng tối nào cũng sẽ được soi sáng bởi một tia hy vọng. Xin gửi đến bạn lời cảm ơn chân thành nhất. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn trong các tập tiếp theo, nơi câu chuyện còn tiếp tục mở ra và những bước chân kiên cường luôn mở ước lặng lẽ và niềm tin chưa bao giờ tắt. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Chúc các bạn luôn bình an.